I guess what I'm learning is, this has been in all kinds of books, but the secret to happiness and purpose is being in alignment with why we're here.
You said to me in one of the messages last night, you said, if your title is blended into who you are, then you've lost yourself. We're not, our work doesn't speak for itself, does it? We are our own story. And this is true for executives, business leaders, first responders.
It's true for the person who cleans this site. If they identify as a cleaner, then that's what they are. But if they identify as a man, a wife, a husband, a human being with something to offer, who happens to clean, to feed their family, and that's who they are. But it's especially, it's an especially dangerous trap for people in positions of power, and that's executives, that's bosses, that's supervisors. Because once you start to, I got promoted to sergeant, you start to walk like this, just bring that chest up a little. You're identifying with the title, and you're losing who you are. To the extent we identify with our titles, there's a corresponding extent that we lose identification and connection to who we are. So the more we identify with our title, we lose who we are. The more we see our title as something that's secondary, tertiary, we keep who we are. And when we keep who we are, that's the golden road.
How often do you post on social media? I see you quite a lot. I mean, every day.
Every day. And every day, I've been doing it for probably the week I retired.
We all know the power of social media to help people connect, from anywhere in the world really. And I'm so excited because right now is the moment that I finally get to, after 2 years, get to meet Joseph Fox in person. So good to see you.
Yeah, it's funny because when I realized that we're going to see each other in person, I thought, wait a minute, we did this before. And so it feels like we have.
Was it 2 years ago? On a LinkedIn post or a TikTok video or something?
Probably 2 years ago around now. Something about Michael.
It was his photo that you posted, that last one that you took of him.
Yeah, the one on the beach in July, which I just posted the other day as part of another post when I was down here actually. But
here we are today, right?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, it's been a pleasure as I've introduced you around here. I give them your bio in like 2 minutes. Social media, videographer, reporter, good man who puts up good and positive content and helps others with it. And I guess that's why we're friends.
And I've just noticed how long in the NYPD? Since 1981?
37 years. Sometimes I kind of count the last 8 retired because I'm kind of still, pretty connected. But
and you're not retired at all, eh? You thought you were going to retire, but you're anything but retired.
I'm probably busier now. Hour for hour, I probably have more quote-unquote free time now, obviously, retired. But the substance of the interactions and whatever it is I do, if you somehow equate that, I'm probably busier. If you somehow, there's a formula, I'm probably busier now than I was when I was working 60 hours a week.
A lot of people think their personal brand is just about their job, what they do. But we're seeing with social media now, even in a world of AI where it's the need to tell your personal story is pretty powerful, isn't it? And that means that you've got more of a real story to share with people even after a career finishes.
There's a lot of parts to that, Evan. First of all, if your personal story is one of pain, then you're going to share pain. And we see the media is flooded with that. And sometimes when I see the kind of things people post regularly all day, I wish I could just get in there and fix them and say that if you looked at other things, if you looked at people, if you looked at sunsets and sunrises, if you looked at puppies, rather than commenting with such passion on something a politician said yesterday that will be forgotten next month. But next month, you'll comment on something a politician says next month with such passion, the same passion I guess, the same level of passion that I felt just now speaking with that newly commissioned officer, and, sharing my nephew's story and pride within his father. So I guess what I'm learning is, this has been in all kinds of books, but the secret to happiness and purpose is being in alignment with why we're here. And in our personal lives, to recognize that, being the best version of ourselves is not a place we get to. It's something that we work at every day, like this water over the rock. Work at self-care, work at our relationships, work at our own self-talk, our own attitude to ourselves. Work at everything constantly, like the water over the rock.
You said to me in one of the messages last night, you said, if your title is blended into who you are, then you've lost yourself. We're not, our work doesn't speak for itself, does it? We are our own story. And this is true for executives, business leaders, first responders.
It's true for the person who cleans this site. If they identify as a cleaner, then that's what they are. But if they identify as a man, a wife, a husband, a human being with something to offer, who happens to clean, to feed their family, then that's who they are. But it's especially, it's an especially dangerous trap for people in positions of power. And that's executives, that's bosses, that's supervisors. Because once you start to, I got promoted to sergeant, you start to walk like this, just bring that chest up a little. You're identifying with the title and you're losing who you are. To the extent we identify with our titles, there's a corresponding extent that we lose identification and connection to who we are. So the more we identify with our title, we lose who we are. The more we see our title as something that's secondary, tertiary, we keep who we are. And when we keep who we are, that's the golden road.
How often do you post on social media? I see you quite a lot. I mean, every day.
Every day. And every day, it's I've been doing it for probably the week I retired. And it's, started out, I probably wasn't posting every day. But frankly, I don't know whether more is happening in my life or I am more of the belief and I have more confidence that the things I'm lucky enough to experience, are shareable. There's that Pink Floyd song, See You on the Dark Side of the Moon. And it's as simple as, I'm just trying to show the bright side of the world. And it's everywhere. And a lot of these things are most of them are they're all spontaneous. But sometimes I'll just post something as soon as it happens. Like I had a 1 a day rule, but I can't keep up because I'm very fortunate. Shareable things are happening. So if you look in the last few months, a lot of times I'll go with 2 things a day, something in the afternoon. It's if something makes someone feels good, then I want to share it. When my children were little, right? This is before I don't even think Facebook existed. And I remember I came up with this primitive lesson for them. I think my daughter Elizabeth was about 5 or 6. My son was about 9 or 10. And I said to them, I looked at the salt and pepper shaker on the table in the kitchen. And I said, you see this salt shaker? Actually, it was in a container, both of them. I said, see these? Imagine these are the most beautiful salt and pepper shakers you've ever seen. Every day, you can't even come into the kitchen without looking and marveling at how beautiful they are. That's good. It's good that you have that. But you want to share it. You want to go show people the salt and pepper shaker. You want to show their neighbors. You want to maybe figure out how to make more of them. And that's what life is. When we see something good, when we have something good, when we feel something good, it gets better when we share it. And it's funny that I was teaching them. I thought I was teaching them. And note to self, I'm going to ask them if they remember that. They probably don't, but hopefully they it's not what you teach your children, what you say to them, it's what you do.
There's a lovely message that you shared before, a warning for people: don't let your title go to your head, it'll take over who you are. What do you want to say to people about the benefit of developing a personal brand? Like, you've gone beyond NYPD, and now, I mean, that's so much a part of who you are. But now the value of you having developed your personal brand over the years to share with other people.
Well, one is, it comes back to not being defined by your title. So, like, I had a friend who every now and then would say to me, I tell them what I did that day, and I say, what does that have to do with police work? And I would just say, you don't understand, it has everything to do with police work. It could be visiting a hospital, with severely challenged children. You'll never get that in a police academy. But somehow it felt like police work for me, but police work was service. So do what feels right to you. Like, one of the things I used to teach in my seminars, when I did 7 Habits, Highly Effective People, is don't let your current title define what you do in the future. Just because you're a police lieutenant does not mean you have to become a security director. If you like to style hair, you can become a hairdresser. If you like flowers, you become a botanist. It's funny that when I left, I became a security executive, having taught that to so many people. But, follow the road that calls us and not the one that we think we're supposed to. And on social media, I think you asked a very profound question last night. And I've been asked this question before, like, basically, how did this happen that I'm so comfortable? I mean, it's gotten to the point, like, yesterday's, I'm walking down Rockaway and I see a sign in the barbershop, no appointment necessary. So I did this 10-second silly video, and it's one of those where I would have never done it a year ago. 3 years ago, and if I would have done it a year ago, I never would have shared it. But now I have the confidence to know that it'll make people laugh. I did this thing where I showed the no appointment necessary, said this is great news, no appointment. Then I took my hat off and said, oh wait, I don't have any hair. And it was almost too silly, but so where did that come from? In my Mother's Day video and the article, and I talk about this a lot. When I was 5 or 6 years old, my mom said to me, summer in the kitchen, and she said, you're such a good boy, Joe. Mr. Casey says you never pass him without saying hello. And I remember so clearly getting right back outside on my little red bike and going up and down the block saying, hello, Mr. Dietz, hello, Mrs. Gannon, hello, Mr. Casey, especially Mr. Casey. And I really believe that encouraged me to be happy with who I am. And I think the difference between people who say, oh yeah, I look on Facebook, but I don't post anything, or me, who can't keep up with the things I want to share. And I say this with no judgment to people who don't post. I think I'm very lucky to have a lot of confidence. But that's a work in progress. Like, when I started posting,
You just got to start somewhere, don't you?
well, I have an entry here. So I kept this when I first started posting, right? And so here, it's titled Facebook Reminder, and it has the name of a woman named Sue. Begun this journal early 2018. So it's in my phone now. And what it is, because here I am in 2018 putting stuff out there thinking, part of me is saying, no one wants to hear from you. Like, what are you doing? Who are you to put out a picture on a rainy day of a seagull on top of a lamppost from my window, because I live on a boardwalk, and say, you're in a good mood when this looks good? Like there was always this, no one wants to hear that. So I kept this file. And this file are things that people said that first year.
Wow.
And I just kept putting them in there, and putting them in there.
There's quite a few
putting
there.
them in there, and putting them in there. Look how many they got. And they are things like, thank you for sharing. Just so you know, each day I'm anxiously awaiting to read your positive thoughts. Thank you.
Wow.
It's great having you on Facebook. You're truly a great inspiration. I love reading your posts. Another orphan post. So the thing is, this is kind of revealing what I'm sharing with you, because I think most people who see the Joe Fox of 2026, I just, maybe they think I was born this way.
It's not where it started.
It's a work in progress. I needed to save those And every now and then look at them, and more than look at them, I knew they were there. And I stopped. I did that for about a year. There's a lot of them in there.
Yeah.
And now I get them, with all modesty, I get them regularly.
Yeah.
And that motivates me.
So for somebody who's thinking, I don't know if I want to start developing a personal brand, sharing my story on social media, you would say it's going to feel a little awkward at the beginning, but if you keep being true to yourself and positive, you'll actually have an impact.
Well, yeah, it's about, I mean, ideally, we should love ourselves as much as everyone loved us when we were born. As excited as everyone was when we came into the world, and we've done nothing yet, and the whole world, everything revolved around that birth. Everybody was so happy. People held us. People loved us. People competed. I want to hold the baby. We should feel like that. And unfortunately,
about ourselves.
About ourselves. And unfortunately, as life goes on, you know, we get dinged and hit and knocked down, and things happen, and we don't feel like we're worthy of the love that was given to us then. And I think that's a job. And like when my granddaughter Charlotte, every time she woke from a nap, I posted one video, but I did it all the time. I'd hold her in the mirror, 3 months old, 2 months old, 6 months old. And we both look in the mirror and I'd say, Charlotte, you deserve unconditional love, and nothing but that, nothing less than that. For no reason, because that's what unconditional means, because you are special. And she's 3 months old, but there was something inside me that felt that somehow I was imparting that on her. And I think I needed to remind Charlotte, and I need to remind me, and that entry was reminding me. I don't need to do that entry anymore. My definition of I haven't written a book, but if I did, my definition of a bestseller would be if one person reads it and says it meant something to them. That's it. My definition of a viral post is if one person comments and says, I needed to see this today. That's it. And that motivates me.
Because the vanity metrics, you know, how many likes, how many comments, how many reshares, they trigger you up. You think, oh, that one didn't do so well, that one did. But you've got to look past that, don't you?
Exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up. I experienced a little bit of the vanity metrics. And it was early on, and I remember putting something up at 10 or 11 at night, an impulse post. I forget what it was about. And it was around the time when I started to really get deep into social media. So of course you're looking at the people with the millions of followers, and the sites get hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm getting 100, whatever it is. And you're thinking, okay, how do I get that? And then one night I looked, and I put something up at 11, and I checked it at 11:30, and 200 people saw it. And I thought,
you're disappointed.
No.
Oh.
No, I thought, 200 people. It's 11 p.m. I'm about to go to bed, and 200 people, 200. For me, that was a million. That was billions. So realign our definition of what viral is. Because we may only be one person, but to the world, to one person, we may only be one person, but to one person we could be the world. We may only be one person, but to one person we may be the whole world. And if we do that, and if we put things out, and we think that one person felt better because of it, that's all we need. Keep doing that, and more people will see it.
That's a big thing that I talk about in the course that we do for executives, is how will you measure success? Because if you're just relying on the metrics that the social media platforms give you, you might not even hit your intended audience, but you can have such a big impact on people just by putting your message out there, and see if the right person gets it. And that's what you should be looking for. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It only has to be one. It only has to be one. And then you know you're doing something, because what is right? Is right the number of views, or is right putting something that helps people? Because when you focus on putting something out that helps people, the rest will come. Like if I look back at these 8 years, yeah, my metrics and numbers, they've grown. They've grown. It's very funny. Every now and then Facebook will give me a check, like I deposit $46 in my account, and I'll send a screenshot.
How are you? How are you? How's it going?
How are you?
Good to see you. How's everything? This is my wife, Therese. I don't know if you remember.
How are you?
She's fine. Yeah.
What are you doing, Kevin?
We just did the walk.
Did the run?
Yeah.
This is Evan.
Hey, how are you?
Evan's a friend. He's a videographer.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, actually,
It's a lovely moment.
Yeah. Okay.
So how's Dad?
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
So if people are feeling disheartened that they're not getting enough traction, I mean, you've been doing this for a while to get to where you're up to right now.
Yeah, first of all, like they say to entrepreneurs who are starting businesses, everything has an infancy stage. We don't have women, like getting pregnant and delivering babies a day later. Everybody has an infancy stage. There's a time where you don't even know she's pregnant. So when you're building your footprint, there's going to be a while where it's like you're not there, And every now and then I'll get taken back to some of my earlier posts, and I'll look and very few people are looking at them. But thankfully, it did not demotivate me, because I had those entries. The first one was this woman named Sue, who I'm not going to mention her last name, but every now and then I'll send her a screenshot of that and thank her for the encouragement when I needed it most. So just stay true at what you believe, and remember, one person saying that this was helpful is viral. And if you keep that definition, and you'll be viral with every post. Because why are you doing this? Because if you're doing this to make money, I can't help you, because I get an $8 check, sometimes a $40 check every couple of months, and I screenshot it and send it to my kids and say, look at this, with the time I put into this, I'm making 3 cents an hour. Isn't this great?
What about the people that haven't posted because they just think my stories are not worth sharing?
That's a deep challenge. That's why I held Charlotte in the mirror after every nap and said, you matter.
And we've all got a story that's worth sharing.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Everyone does. And it's why when I love to speak with people and I ask them a couple of questions and you find their story. But that's, I'm very fortunate. I don't know how this, I have some ideas. And it was my mom when I was 5 years old saying, Mr. Casey says you're such a good boy. But then it's also, I work at this. Like I work at considering whether the things I put out are helpful. And that's important. Because if I just look at the number of likes, why bother? I look at one comment that says I needed this today. That's it.
So should people just have a go if they're thinking, all right, I hear, Joe, you started with nothing and you built it to something, and if I start somewhere it might turn into something if I just share an idea? Because honestly, a lot of people don't think their story's worth sharing, and it's the saddest thing.
There are so many people taking pictures with their phones of everything, and they stay in their phone. I knew a man who was on a boardwalk, he had his big camera. He'd get all these beautiful shots of seagulls and gulls going as the full moon's rising over the ocean, and he'd look at his camera and say, someday I'm going to put these maybe on like cards or something. Everything was someday. And I would walk away thinking how lucky I am that when I get a shot like that, I share it and people see it. And it's that step, he probably does not feel the confidence in that photo. Well, more, it's not the photo, it's himself. So I guess the message is what I said to Charlotte. You deserve love, unconditional love, and with love is attention, good attention. Because we're all doing wonderful things. But now there's a whole other category to this. The people who are making some of the people who are making a lot of money and getting viral, true viral, are people sharing negative stuff. But in the end of the day, how does that make you feel? Like when I see them, what must it feel like to be just sharing anger? So there's good sharers and bad sharers. And I find that the good sharers are happy things, the pretty things, the sunrise, the sunsets, the changes, the nice ideas, the funny things.
They're all stories, aren't they?
They're all stories and they're all real life. And the reason, like comedians, and that's probably something I would have explored in another life. Every good comedian, every joke is something real. It's something we all experience. And they put it in a way that makes people laugh.
Yeah.
So, you know, recognize that you have something of value, and don't get thrown by who's not looking at it. And, you know, get motivated by who is looking at it.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan.
So good.
Thank you for sharing everything.